examinations. So first of all, very quickly, a bit to my background. So I'm born and raised in Berlin in Germany, and have always loved traveling, and traveled to New Zealand in 1991 the first time, and saw a few schools and the school system, really liked it. And in Germany you have to do like massive state examinations after you've been to university. You have to do 2. So 1 after university and 1 after 2 years teaching, which is like here first year, second year. And I'd chosen the Kiwi Sports program for my first state examination, so I wrote a thesis about that. And then when I came 2002, I thought, I better start at secondary schools, because language-wise, I thought, oh God, I don't even know how to teach math and English. So I better first feel familiar with the language before I moved back to primary level. So I've been working at first Rutherford College for a year, and then 3 years at Kelston Girls High School as a PE and health teacher. And then I thought, oh, it's time. I really miss all the other subjects, and I miss having a classroom-based. I'm going to move back to primary school, and did that in 2006, and have been teaching since then at Green Bay Primary School and intermediate. It's a 1 to 8. And so in the course of me teaching in Germany and in New Zealand, I have taught year 1 to 13, so I have a pretty good kind of overview where they start and where they end up. And I teach currently a year 6 class, and this is where I kind of, I really like that age group. They can do already a lot, but they're still little. And so I like the upper. I've enjoyed the senior high school students as well, so it was cool. I thought I structured a little bit the way Christine has structured her research, and I share a little bit about class climate first. So every year when the new class comes in and we start and we look at things, first off we create kind of a walker, and this is all the students sitting in there. I photograph them, and then they fill in a little paddle and they write onto it what they want to become in life. So I have lots of YouTubers and directors and soldier, detective, police, anything they want to do, they write on there. And that's my first idea of their real interests. So, and that's what I later can link back to reading and any other interests they've got. We do a quite intensive class treaty then it's time to talk about the classroom rules, and all that gets co-constructed with the students, and every year it looks completely different, whatever they want to do. So this year we have this kind of solar system. They really wanted to put it all up on the stars, and that's quite cool. And they have photos of how does it actually look like, that particular, and we have one back, we have everything and a right and a responsibility. And then the photo going with it, how does it actually look like? I brought my last year's, because that looked completely different. They liked the kind of old-fashioned look. And last year, it was hung up as kind of scrolls, and it was really long, looked like this. So that was last year's class treaty. Yeah, it takes a while, but it's very worthwhile, because then at least everybody is on the same page. And I can refer back to it throughout the day, throughout the year, quite regularly. To the mixed ability, and there's a lot more with the class climate. I refer back as well with the mixed ability to something else. Mixed ability. So I base my class, my seating groups on sociograms, and also on the various strengths the students identify. So the students say, oh, I'm really good in organizing things, I'm really good in reading, writing, maths, and so on. So we try to mix everybody up, that we have very strong students of all kinds around one table. They sit at the moment in groups of 6. And I don't know if people are using the sociogram, so I've just thought I show you mine. Oh, I need to, Is it somewhere? Where? maybe I'll quickly log in again, because that is really helpful. I can highly recommend this website. It's cost me only $14 for the whole year, and it's really easy to do. The kids get a code, and they just do it, and it takes minutes to. Okay. Ha, thank you. Don't even look up. That's a teacher for you, can't spell. Okay, so it looks like this was I've just done a new one as well, but this is not up yet because one boy is still missing for a whole week, so we have to wait until he's done. So you have a social and a work-related domain. If I go to the work-related domain, then there are all the kids, and I can do fancy things like draw the sociogram, and it comes up with the choices of the kids, and you can see really quickly who has lots of positive and who has negative choices. And then you can actually work with that. And also you could go interactive circles. Sorry, it's just big. And this is quite nice because, oops, you can see obviously the ones which have got lots of positive choices, and then you see the people on the outer. So you can really work with that and include people on the outer with the more popular students.
Sorry, does that mean the people around the outside have had people say, I don't want to play with or work with that person?
Yeah, I think I've just clicked on the positive choices. So, and there's another one with all the negative choices. So there's two options I show here. There's one, the interactive, so the positives and the negatives. This you can only see for $14 a year. There's a free version, but you don't get all these fancy graphs. But I think it's really worthwhile. And you just can easily create a new test, and then they get a group code, and they just log in, do this really quickly. It takes minutes, and you have the whole class done. It's really easy. And from that, you can actually let the computer decide how they sit. So you have the chance to put all your classroom into the computer, and then hit the button, and it actually spits out a few seating arrangements for you according to their sociograms. And I usually print out 3 and then share that with the students, and we trial 3, and yeah, we see which ones works best. So we usually do that together. So yeah, that's the Sometics. Really helpful website. And then I do a lot of activities that are based on the table group, where they work together as a group. And I have a certain rotation system. Where's my clicker? Here. Maybe my timetable comes next. Yeah, here. This is my timetable at the moment. And what was really tricky to fit it all in, to see certain students, to help them along. Some, they have certain gaps, to test them sometimes, to do a few more checkpoints if they're achieving or not, if they're improving. So I've come up with this kind of core curriculum rotation. So I have once a day, I have a core curriculum rotation, and this is all my groups have activities. So I have 5 table groups, so 5 different activities. So each day they rotate. And there is reading, writing, math in there, but sometimes, or most of the time, one practical activity as well, which they really enjoy. Like we made like tracking tunnels, and I just put all the stuff there and a reading instruction, how to build a little tracking tunnel with food coloring and peanut butter and all sorts of things. And then they went out and put it out in the garden and got it in the next day. So this is nice. You can do this like activities because it's only 6 students who are doing a creative task, and the others doing a reading, a math. I use whatever worksheets, Mighty Math or all sorts of, and they all get the same work there. They can choose. So I have a box full of journals with reading activities with it, and they actually choose. They choose what they want to work on. They choose the worksheet with the article as well. And that is like last term, I had a lot of water safety stuff, all related to the water safety we did for swimming, and they chose that. So the core curriculum rotation frees me up as the teacher. So I have one session per day where I can either pull out certain students, sit with them, do other things, run a test, or just float if I don't have something particular to do. Because I felt I was always running out of time where the students just work independently and I can sit with particular students or do something. Like the whole testing at primary school when we do a probe or a gloss or something where it's a one-on-one, it was really difficult for having then everybody doing quiet activity and just busy work while you try to chomp through 30 students. Was always a nightmare. So I don't do it this way anymore. I have regular testing, but also this regular system where they know what they're doing. This is the rotation. There are no questions. They're used to the system. And I incorporate my buddy reading in there as well. So a group goes to buddy reading to a junior class. So those 6 students just go during that time to their buddy reading class, read with their buddies and so on, and come back. And then by the end of the week, every student had their buddy reading time, had their maths there. Yeah, so we just completed that rotation. And that works actually really well and has brought my stress level down quite a bit because I have created that session. I can actually do that. I try to put enough PE in. Art always comes too short, obviously, but we try to kind of sneak some more in the core curriculum rotation as well. Some reading art activities. So they get their normal kind of 3 to 4 sessions per subject. So basically that's what it is, a bit more in reading, writing, maths. Yeah, and that works quite well. I talk about that. Oh, that's the reading program. I have, go back. Differentiation, I have 2 students that are very, very high in maths, like seriously high. They are operating at level 5, which is high school level. So, and I'm year 6, so I don't really cover much at high school level in my class. So I've asked our year 8 class if they could go there for maths. So they do the year 8 program with the year 8s, and that frees me up again. That was really good because I know they get challenged. They work with the students, and yeah, they are well suited there. And they come back when they're with us. They are my kind of 2 more maths teachers I have in class because they are walking around as well, helping others, and I can rely on them as well. They've actually run some timetable tests and did all sorts of things. You can actually use them quite brilliantly. Circle time. That goes into class climate a little bit, and also mixed ability. I've been running circle time for, this is the 2nd year now, and I can highly, highly, highly recommend this book because it's a whole system. It's a class behavior management system, which is based on real positive structure, and also those circles are really phenomenal. I just had one in the last session again before I came here. I always do circle time on Tuesday afternoons, and it was just beautiful again. The kids, what they learn to really speak well, to listen to each other, to sort out problems. They can put problems forward they need help with. The book tells you all the structure about those circles and everything, and it's amazing. You get to know your students really, really well. And yeah, I don't want to dwell long on it but this helps with the class climate and the mixed ability because they really start helping each other a lot. So I thought I'd bring a lot of resources rather for the reading program as for the maths, because as Christine said, that's it's the struggle. So my reading, I base it basically term 1 and 2. I focus on, I don't know who knows the CSI kits. So the CSI kits, this is the year 6 one, but it has got lots of other levels as well. Always comes with first introduction sessions. It's all based on reading strategies. So first is a teacher modeled session. So you get a little CD-ROM with it, and there's a text, and you can mask stuff and talk about things. It talks you through, actually. There's a beautiful teacher manual. And so you model that session first to all students, and then they walk away in mixed ability pairs, and they get their little follow-up activity. So it's like, this is then the follow-up activity from whatever I have modeled. They get a little sheet, they get a whiteboard marker, and they start working on their text. And it's always connected. So this is making connections. So this was the first how it starts. It goes for 5 sessions or 6 sessions, is all making connections. Then it moves into asking questions, visualization, drawing inferences, determining important ideas, synthesizing information. So that is very structured, and you cover with that all reading strategies. That works really well in mixed ability groups. It works really well with reading buddies, and the introduction lesson, the modeled lesson, you do to all of the students. This goes very well with the Sheena Cameron. The Sheena Cameron, also the reading strategies in there is brilliant, like the writing book, the publishing book, the reading book. Yeah, I love all the work of Sheena Cameron in here. So my term 1 and 2 is very much based on reading strategies, whole class first, then breaking up in buddies with follow-up activities. But one big thing, and that goes for the whole year, I don't know if anyone has read that book, The Book Whisperer. And that Book Whisperer, talking about expectation, is recommending that all students read 40 books for the year. So it's the 40 book challenge. And it's also a wonderful book, and it's really inspirational, motivates you as becoming like really great on all the reading. So of this book, I had, it's more or less, you do like a genre study. So you look at the different genres for all the novels. So I've created various, so the students can go in here, can look up, all the genres are described again in here. Then I have a big genre folder here with little tags, homemade. And it's also lots of examples of books within that genre and the description, what it is. And all the students have a reading log in their books, which looks like this. And it has 3 pages. And they are from traditional literature, realistic fiction, historical fiction, fantasy, biography, non-fiction, post-book awards, poetry, mystery, science fiction, and reader's choice. So at the end of the year, they need to have read 40 books across all genres. And that is actually fabulous for motivation and also for reading mileage. And we have frequent discussions. So usually in the library, then I introduce a new genre. We talk about it. They all find books around it. We start them off. I always have class books, so every brain food break in between block 1 and 2, I read a book to them. So it's also 5 times, obviously, a week. We get through books quite a lot. And I choose books that are not too big. So that's what we've just finished, Number the Stars, and the kids have just chosen this. We just started the midway. So it's always a different genre as well. I do allow them to put it in their reading log. I say, okay, because some kids struggle, obviously, with 40 books. But then again, you can individualize. So I have one boy who struggles a lot with the reading, and I've made a more or less a reading program for him, helping him along. I mean, a lot of other kids have the same. But for him, to get him motivated, and I recommended that he reads a lot of audiobooks. So he starts with audiobooks at his level, because what he can read is actually quite boring because it's not his level. He is a 10-year-old boy and is not too interested in the things he can read by himself. So he does extra reading activities for learning how to read better, but he's also interested in all of this through the audiobooks. So and then sometimes I use the Epic books. There are lots of audiobooks on there. This is free for teachers to sign up, and you get a class code. And he is just doing the Goosebumps series. So he's just having all of this as audiobooks, and he loves it. And it's really cool to get them engaged. I always get the parents in from all my readers that struggle, and sit down with them, and I probe them, and I have pretty good ideas which reading strategies they are struggling with. And then I start with whatever reading strategies. So the probe kits come, I don't know if someone has seen this, they come with really cool activities for that particular reading strategy. So they have like worksheets you can photocopy, and they really practice inferencing really well. They just go for sentences and give the answers, find the keywords. And I sit down with the parents and we go through it. And I explain to them and say, this is how you can help, this is how you can read with them. And it's not too frustrating because it really starts with one sentence. And then just finding keywords, particular program. So this one starts with the movie Epic. And the students are really highly motivated, and they read, and those activities are great. They're great vocabulary activities in there. They have to search for compound words or anything what's there. It's a really good reading program. Has had some great success, I was told. I haven't seen the research, but it has been proven to be successful. And I can just say from my classroom, they're really engaged, they love it. They read heaps because we go through it quite a bit. And it's just not boring, and it changes the reading. And again, it's mixed ability because you do the whole movie together, they read the same stuff, and then you can kind of peel off in mixed ability groups from there and help each other what they found. There are lots of little games in there as well, like little competitions, finding things. It's really good. So that's how I kind of structure my reading program. There's the overall 40-book challenge. There is specific reading strategies teaching, and it's always like teacher models, students do, kind of always the same. And then in the core curriculum, I throw in my journals and all sorts of other reading choices or recipes. They're going to bake something or do something else practical. They have to read something instructional. So always changing it around. So, and that way, I cover actually most of it. I'm quite happy now with it. It works quite well, and the students are achieving quite well with that. Yeah, this, my 40-book challenge every year looks different as well. Some years, the students want to run with us and run book clubs. So we had book clubs where they meet regularly, share what book they've read. We bake cookies and have a real book club thing. So we sit in a circle and talk about the books. They recommend books. Another year, the students were really interested, and they built this massive kind of Monopoly display, and they called it Redopolis. And they had, each student had a street and was around like the actual Monopoly game. And then when you read books, you got houses and hotels and train stations. And as more you read, as more you got, and as more expensive your street became. So that was quite cool, and that was lots of fun as well. So they have great ideas. If you let the students decide how they want to run it and how they want to run with it, they come up with really great stuff. Goal setting. All the assessment is shared with the students. So I have like a filing cabinet where they have hanging folders in there, and they can always go into their own assessments and always look it up. And then I also try to get the whole class into kind of a visual system, and I highlight things. So we have a timetable sheet where it's like who can do what times tables. We have for other math activities, we have that for writing as well. I have got this in there. Yeah, that's, for example, writing. That was more for me. So I've cut and paste those things from the latest Esther writing sample. And I've just put it across that I have all 6 markers, what we are marking for. And I just highlighted the ones who have severe gaps. And so my level, ideally, by the end of the year, they're all at 3P. And I got some samples of writing where one student hasn't used a full stop or anything in the entire piece of writing. So there was no punctuation. It was one big long sentence, and that was it, over 1.5 pages. So I thought, okay, looking at my class this year, so I need to do a lot regards punctuation and spelling. And for, again, the punctuation, I've created, or not I created, I took that resource we have at school, and made like little booklets. And these are little punctuation booklets with lots and lots of activities for them, again, to take home and work through. Because I may need to show this, we have a home learning system. I'm not a big fan of homework as such, and like the photocopied homework sheet, and then they have to do it and they bring it back at the end of the week. I find this hard to find the connection to my actual teaching and what they're doing, or the actual gaps. So the home learning system is all the kids are there for all the days. So this year, this class had particular problems in bringing anything back. So when you set something, it never came back. And then you try to mark something, it was at home or was somewhere, or they've forgotten to do it. So I asked again the kids, I said, how do we want to go around that? How can we more or less make you more organized? And then they said daily homework. They want to have it daily. So take something home and bring it back. And so we created this system. It is a daily system, and they decide, and it goes a little bit by order. So this is what I just quickly do. So we have the learning intentions there. We have the key competencies, what they are practicing, and the success criteria, where they find the daily tasks independently. For example, they need to finish certain worksheets, certain stuff. They need to revisit new learning we've done. They can look that up. Either they go back on Khan Academy or YouTube or look something up. Or they need to do certain tasks, like they still don't know all their times table. They need to continue to learn their times table. So they have to write this daily in their homework book, and it has to be back next day. They bring everything back. I have someone who writes it down, what they take from the class. So they're allowed to take math books home, reading books, journals, whatever. But I have 2 students who are my organizers who write all this down, what they take home, and they have to bring it back next day, so that I don't have to do that, because this would drive me mad, doing all of this. They have to keep their reading logs up to date, the 40 books challenge. They can have extension work if they want. They just need to come to me and say, I really want to do some extra poetry or something or whatnot, and then I will find it for them and give it. There is a traffic light system. It's a yellow is a they've forgotten but can catch up that next day. And the red is, yeah, they're completely forgotten and they haven't done it and it isn't at school. And this is the system we run from the circle time, the behavior structure. We have golden time in class. Twice a week we have golden time on Wednesday and Friday, and they miss out on some golden time. So that's everything basically which doesn't work really well in class. They are not doing so well. They miss out on golden time. And golden time is 20 minutes on a Wednesday and 20 minutes on a Friday. And again, we brainstormed what golden time is, what they can do, and so on and so on. Yeah. So I have a lot of those sheets, what you've just seen from the writing, as well for maths and any other subjects that are important. We have, the students can access this, the students can look up, but they also can look up who's really good at it and who's already achieving that. So they can go to that person and ask them directly and say, hey, you're pretty good at that, can you help me with this? So it works both ways. And then for the I Can test, for example, a colleague of mine, Maria, has done this wonderful sheet I've shared with all the students. So the I Can test looks like this. The students write their answers down. So on the actual answer sheet from the test, then they highlight what they haven't got correct. And stage 4 is about year 4, year 5, year 6, year 7, year 8. And when they know they can't do a certain thing or they got that answer wrong, there are home activities here they could link or work in school. So this is all live and they can just click on it, and there are lots of activities that help them understand that particular question area. So they can do this for, yeah, all different stages. And that's really helpful, again, to work on particular gaps. Yeah, when I work with students, I try to dig deep. I try to really find the why a student struggles, why they're a little bit behind. And one student this year from my class is quite low, right across the range. And then I just looked a little bit more into, started to try to talk to the mother. The mother doesn't speak English, but he's actually born in New Zealand. And I discovered there are 7 kids. Mother is a solo mom, doesn't speak English. But I got hold of a family friend who's helping a lot and who speaks very good English. So we sat down together, and I got a huge knowledge of all the background of the students. It was quite horrific, and have a much better insight now how I can help and how I can tailor the whole program. He also went to Muslim school from 5 to 7 every day during weekdays, so that left very little time for him to do anything extra at home. And the family friend has now discussed with the mother that it is quite important that he puts a lot more emphasis on his Kiwi learning and learns English and maths and everything that is actually here in New Zealand. And she agreed and said, okay, she will pull him out and we'll just do some extra weekend lessons, anything. She had the opportunity to swap this around, to send him to Muslim school or something during the weekends. So now all the afternoons are free. And he's done a lot of those sheets already. He's bringing them back. He really enjoys it, and various other things, and is starting to catch up with all what he's kind of missed. So actually, when you dig deep and talk to people, it's quite interesting. Yeah, what you find. Yeah, it's just summarizing. It's generally what works well is that all the students can access everything. They are aware of what they are doing, why they are doing things. They have access to their assessments. They can, and through that home learning system as well, they are bit forced to actually really look at what are my gaps, what do I have to do, what do I take home today? Oh, I don't know this times table, I take this home. What haven't I missed today? Which worksheet haven't I finished? Take it home, finish that off at home. What didn't I quite understand today? Okay, and this is these little goal settings nearly like every day. They need to reflect at the end of the day, what happened during this day, what do I maybe need to do? And sometimes they can just read and enjoy. Yeah, what I find really important is that it's a well-rounded program with lots of fun as well and lots of hands-on and making things. And it's quite lucky that I'm the enviro teacher at our school as well. So I'm in the garden a lot and we're weeding or we're dealing with the chickens or the worms or make things. We have a beehive or extract honey or like all these things, it's happening. So the class is really active and outdoors. And that the emphasis is as well on the key competencies really and the student engagement, because every student has strengths and you can tap into that, and everybody brings something really good to the table. And if you take this emphasis away from the reading, writing, maths, where some students can really be disheartened because they don't score highly and they struggle with it, but they still have phenomenal strengths in other areas, and then you can build on those strengths because they're really good at that, incorporate that, and help them out to get better in the areas they need to work on. And that way it works really well. That's just a few photos from my class. We're doing a flex weaving and we made beeswax wraps, and that's us, I think. That was the end of the, yeah, that's questions. Oh, and before I forget this, there's also Christine's book. That's also a really cool book and has lots and lots of practical ideas gathered from teachers for reading and maths, and it's a lots of study language in there as well and research language, but also very, very practical things. So it's both sides. Fascinating book, really interesting. Opens your eyes.
Those student decisions, for example, about how to set up the rules and class culture and whatnot, democratic, I take it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you do about the consequence?
The consequences of
people who drag their feet or scowl or aren't interested. Do you have some of those? Or
Yeah.
don't very much buy it?
Yeah, no, that links back into, so first of all, this is really well communicated, displayed everywhere, so they know what the rules are. That's really important, so they know easily when they're not within the rules. And then there's a little warning card system, so it's red warning cards. So for example, they're off task, blah, 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 blah. I don't need to yell across the room or anything. I can actually just walk past little red warning slip without saying anything. And that's their warning, so they can pull up their socks and do well again. And if they get a second one, again, they miss out on golden time. And yeah, that works very good. And otherwise, it's also works really good rather focusing on the positive, like some, for example, it's roll time in the morning. 3 students already sit there reading, which I like. So I like them reading quietly in the morning. It's only 3 out of 30. Then I just say, oh, thank you to those students who are already reading their book. And within seconds, all the books are out. They're all sitting and all reading. And I think, wow, I don't actually need to say, remember what we do in the morning? We said we have to read, because you just need to, and there's always a kid that does it well and is already ready. So, and I just say, thank you for, and bang, it happens really quickly. So, yeah. But it's not all cool. I mean, obviously, this is my tidy book student. I've asked if I can bring that today. Not all books look like that. So.